come on into the ditch. I'm your resident ditch witch Tara Tyne and we're about to get witchy, whether you like it or not. This week I'm having a closer look at what is, in my opinion, a very underrated and very tasty vegetable. That is to say, the humble beetroot. I think where my grow for beetroot came from was I lived in a very sort of trendy hippie kind of city for just under a year, and in that same year I tried both beetroot crisps and beetroot leaves in a salad, and I just couldn't get over this vegetable and, you know, how the beautiful colour of it, the beautiful sweet flavouring of it, and how versatile it was, considering growing up the only beetroot I knew was pickled beetroot that came from a jar in the supermarket. Lo and behold, raw beetroot was a law unto itself. So naturally I decided to try growing it in a container that was much too small, on a balcony that was much too small, and needless to say that didn't really work out particularly well. But I am going to try growing some next year because it really is one of those vegetables that is a treat when it comes along. One of my favourite uses of beetroot is as a natural food colourant. It's used in commercial products, everything from tomato puree and jams and sauces to fabrics and textiles. So naturally beetroot is a great coverall for me, and it doesn't taste too bad either in things. It doesn't have an unpleasant taste like some other things that you might use as natural colorants. So I've been feeling inspired to try and put a new twist on a favourite DIY craft of mine, which is to make my own beeswax lip balm. I've decided to attempt to tint it with dried beetroot because I didn't have any pre-cooked vacuum packed stuff in the house, and just wanted to push the boundaries a bit and see what the possibilities are for using dried beetroot in day-to-day crafts. So later on you'll see me put it to good use as a magic best friend for some chocolate muffins. But first up, we're going to attempt the lip balm. To make the dried beetroot powder, we're going to take a beetroot, cut it in half, peel half of it and remove stalky bits, grate it, then place it in a baking tray on top of a sheet of waxed paper. I'd also advise you to wear gloves unless you're looking to rock the Lady Macbeth look. A little water clears us of this deed. Put your grated beetroot into an oven that has been preheated to 100 degrees. The internet recommended 4 to 5 hours at 50 degrees, but my oven only goes as low as 100 degrees, so I left it in there for 2 hours. Be careful to leave the door open to allow any moist air to escape and to encourage the drying process. We're then going to use a food processor, or in my case a hand blender, to turn the grated beetroot into powdered beetroot.
It's funny how it all could start from just one book.
We're going to want the finest powder to put in our lip balm. So tip the beetroot powder, once it's ground, into a jam jar. Cover it with some nylon tights. Seal it with an elastic band. And sieve your beetroot powder out onto a plate or into a bowl using that. This ensures that only the finest particles are going into your finished product. So now we are ready to make some lip balm. Apologies about the terrible camera angle, but I have a new camera on the way next week, so I'm hoping that's going to improve things. I'll have a tripod and all to use with it, so hopefully this is the last week of completely random camera angles. So we've got our beetroot powder, we've got tablespoon of beeswax. We've got some coconut oil, raw virgin coconut oil. We've got some sweet almond oil, and we've got some shea butter. I've also got some vitamin E capsules and some rose organic essential oil for this hopefully rose scented luscious pink tinted lip balm, which will be completely natural, completely organic. Happy out. So this recipe that I've put together is a combination of looking at a lot of different recipes and kind of deducing by the ingredients I wanted to use, by the consistency that I'm hoping to end up with, which is a little bit softer than usual. Very often when I go to make lip balms, particularly those with coconut oil, they're quite solid to the touch and can be difficult to get out of a little pot in a hurry when your lips are in a bad way. So I have tried to include a little bit more oil in this recipe to balance it off a little bit and hopefully get something that's a little bit smoother, maybe a slight bit more stable. I've just remembered there's one ingredient as well, one complete outsider of an ingredient that I've just been loving recently. If you saw last week's video, you'll know what I'm talking about, and that is the food grade gold shimmer. So 1 second till I grab that. I'm just heating this pot to a low heat because everything is going to go in here. I'm not going to double boiler this. I'm just going to go for it. Okay, I've got my little food shimmer, my little gold food shimmer, and I've got two tiny little jam jar sampler pots, like single serving pots. I always keep those when I see them because they're just so handy for things like this. Ideally, if you had those little plastic lip balm containers, those would probably be best. And I thought I had some around the house, but I can't find them, so we're going to just fall back on old reliable, the tiny jam jars. So now the first thing I'm going to put in here is the combination of beeswax. That's 1 tablespoon of beeswax, and also we are going to want 1 tablespoon of coconut oil and 1 tablespoon of shea butter, which is very softening. It's great for the skin. It's quite thick and luscious, so I like to use it in sort of body butters and lip balms and that kind of thing, but I am hoping to move away from it when it comes to using it for facial moisturizers, because I'd like to have a go at using cocoa butter instead, but I've just actually ordered some yesterday, so I'm looking forward to that arriving and having a go because I am badly in need of some facial moisturizer. So we are just melting this slowly down. My recipe is reminding me to mix it with a chopstick. That is because we don't want a cold metal spoon going in there and messing with the temperatures. Alright, so that has melted down nicely. What we are needing now is 1.5 tablespoons of sweet almond oil. 1.5. I keep stirring with the damn spoon. Bloody hell. 1/8 of a teaspoon, okay? No more, no less. Just 1/8 of a teaspoon. I don't know, how much is that? I think that's about 1/8 of a teaspoon, isn't it? I think I was meant to mix the beetroot powder into the sweet almond oil first, but you know, oh well. The reason we put it through the nylons, the tights, is to get only the finest of the beetroot powder so that it's not going all, it's not making your lip balm all gritty and bitty. Oh, gritty and bitty. Does that look like it's making it pink? Not really. I mean, I can see the powder dispersing in it, but beetroot powder apparently is sort of quite famous for separating from its medium whenever it damn well feels like it, so. Okay, mixy. Now we are meant to turn off the heat, wait a second, then add the vitamin E and essential oil. Mix, and oh yeah, I want to put the shimmer in too. I'm going to also take this opportunity to give you a warning, in case you've never used them before, never ever ingest essential oils and never eat from anything which has been used to prepare essential oils. I am adding 3 vitamin E capsules. These are a preservative. They preserve skin and they preserve your lip balm, so they are a great additive in something like this. And I am going to use a pin just to prick that and squeeze it in. Not forgetting to turn off my heat, because at this point now you don't want to start diminishing the potency of your active ingredients. That is 3 vitamin E capsules added. And then we want 1/4 teaspoon of essential oil, which is about 30 drops. So this is rose I'm putting in. I thought, wouldn't it be lovely if my beautiful pink tinted lip balm smelled of roses. Oh baby. Have to let the kitty in. Then I'm going to very quickly add in some food shimmer. I'm not sure about the amount of beetroot. It doesn't seem to be sort of doing what I wanted it to do by way of colour. I'm thinking about just adding in a little bit more of the powder. I'm running the risk here of making it gritty, like I said, but I mean, you know, it's fashion, baby. Yeah, I thought by adding the food shimmer, you know, I could get a nice sparkling sheen off it. So, fingers crossed. That's looking really, really beautiful in the pot there now. Sort of shimmering, and it has got the pink going through it. So I think we're just gonna go for it. I only had enough for 1 pot, so that's fine. I'd say if I had been using the little small plastic ones that are actually for a lip balm, that I maybe would have got about 5 or 6 of them out of it. So it's quite a good amount, but I have to just show you this here as to how positively cosmic this looks. So as you can see, my attempt to tint beeswax lip balm with dried beetroot powder did not work. The good news, however, is that my attempts to improve the consistency of my lip balm by making it a little bit more liquid, a little bit more glossy and gel-like rather than really solid and getting stuck under my fingernails, was completely successful. You can see putting this on, that I am getting that beautiful glossy consistency that I wanted. So I'm very pleased with that. The beetroot, however, what might have worked? Well, the first thing, I mean, most sensible people would probably use white beeswax when doing this instead, so that it might take the colour on a bit better. I didn't do that, A, because I was using what I had in the house already, and B, because I was secretly hoping that it would combine with the colour of the beetroot and give me something with a slightly more orangey or rust coloured hue. That didn't work either way. I mean, I kept a stir on it as it was cooling, because I know that beetroot is meant to separate from whatever you put it into, basically. So I was managing to keep a stir on it with the chopstick right up until the point where it started hardening. That obviously wasn't enough, but I think even if I had have used, you know, white beeswax, there's still, the particles I can see, as much as I tried to make it really fine by running it through the nylon tights. It just still seems like I would need to have put a hell of a lot of beetroot powder in there in order to get the entire pot to take on the colour. So I think beetroot powder in homemade beeswax lip balm is a bit of a bust as far as experiments go. However, I wouldn't draw a line under beetroot and tinted lip balm completely just yet. Most of the tutorials I watched on the internet, people were actually using beetroot juice instead of dried beetroot. Again, I was using what I had in the house. We would never have beetroot juice here, but currently Dave is a bit of a beetroot fiend, so there's always plenty of it in the house. And I wouldn't be so much into adding beetroot juice to the likes of Vaseline and the things that were being used on YouTube. But I do know of a very dark corner of the craft that involves successfully blending oil/wax and water, and also the sacrifice of your firstborn. What I might try doing at some point is taking a similar combination of my oils and waxes and butters that I use today, heating them up to the same temperature as some beetroot juice, and then combining them simultaneously in thin streams using a blender or a mixer of some kind. I have tried to make body butter this way precisely 3 times in the past, and only one of those times has it actually succeeded. The other times it appeared to make a body butter, but very soon afterwards all the liquid in it would start seeping up to the top and form a pool in it, so you'd know that it hadn't completely blended, and as a result it wouldn't store for very long. It was fine to use if you poured out the water, but it didn't really store. It wasn't particularly pleasant. But I guess if you really wanted a very creamy pink or red tinted lip balm, theoretically speaking, this might work. And so theoretically speaking, I might someday try it. But today is not that day, because the beetroots are calling once again. There are chocolate muffins to be made. So for the muffins, I am sifting 175 grams of plain flour with 1 teaspoon of baking powder and 2 tablespoons of cocoa. 2 generous tablespoons of cocoa. And they are going into my medium-sized mixing bowl. Then I need to get whisking some eggs with a little bit of milk. Actually, Dave, would you be so kind and get me the milk out, please? I'm gonna take the chicken's way out, so to speak. I always use a knife to break my eggs because on these plastic mixing bowls, it's, oh. It's much better to use a knife. Much better.
No eggshell.
That pretty much never happens except when there's cameras rolling.
Isn't the hack to use the eggshell to get it out?
To get it out?
Yeah.
Oh, I don't know.
I think the internet is responsible for that information.
The internet has notions about things, does it?
Yeah.
Well, you can give that a go, Dave, and come back to me and let me know.
Oh, it never happens to me. I'm a pro.
What did I say? 2 tablespoons of milk, yeah. Oh. It's a very rough and ready version of how to make muffins. I don't think I've ever actually made muffins before.
Have you know?
I don't think so. When I see baked goods, I don't go, muffin like.
Yeah.
I like me a jam donut and occasional bit of chocolate cake and other things I never actually bake. But I mean, you know, using chocolate muffins as an excuse to get rid of some beetroot, like, I think that's pretty genius.
Using beetroot as an excuse to eat some chocolate. You.
Is that not what I said? No. Right, that said lightly whisk. I don't know. I assume that's lightly whisked. It's well mixed anyway, and I presume they don't want it getting frothy. I don't think that's the thing you really do with muffins.
No.
So after you're finished shaking your egg mixture all over the place, 2 generous tablespoons of softened butter with 2 tablespoons of vegetable oil, two tablespoons of caster sugar, and 4 tablespoons of muscovado sugar. Then I'm going to release this bad boy on it, and we're just going to process that until it is creamy. My home economics teacher used to always make us set out all the equipment that we would need before we started cooking or baking. So you'd have like your little saucer with your one knife, your 2 teaspoons, your tablespoon, your spatula, your wooden spoon, all laid out in it. And you got marked for that kind of thing. And I feel like, to be honest, those lessons were just wasted on me completely, because most of my time spent cooking or baking is just frantically dashing around the kitchen trying to get the right equipment out at the right time. And then I am alternating between adding my egg and milk mixture and my flour mixture. There's a case to be made for just lumping all this into one bowl, you know, and if somebody said to me, Tara, it's perfectly fine to just do that, then, you know, I would probably just do that. But because of having very little experience baking, I still prefer to follow directions precisely, and this is my own sort of, like, I found 2 recipes that were very, very similar, so this is just somewhere kind of between the 2 of them. I'm already kind of leaving enough to chance here. Oh yeah, that's making a really nice kind of creamy sort of mixture. So the only thing that I'm really changing here is how the chocolate is going to be added. One of the recipes recommended that you break a 100-gram bar up into 12 pieces and you just stick one in the top of each muffin as you go along, and that melts as it's baking and gives it like a soft gooey chocolate core. And I thought, rather than trying to break a bar up into small sort of chip-like pieces, as the other recipe was recommending, I thought, you know, that sounds much easier. That is looking quite battery, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's getting quite difficult to stir now, so I didn't realise it was going to go like that, but you know, that kind of makes sense. They said to stick the chocolate in top, and I thought, well, if it's going to be really liquidy, that's not going to work. Now, the next thing we have to do is, stir in the beetroot. Stir in the beetroot and then put it into our greased muffin tin. I've also got the oven preheating to 180 Celsius here, so if you haven't already turned your oven on by this point, it's time to turn it on. Okay, this looks like a lot of beetroot compared to the amount of batter. So, I mean, it could almost be argued, Dave, that these are going to be healthy muffins.
Oh, totally.
Because, you know, like there's clearly more beetroot than like sugar and stuff in there. Oh, Dave.
I'd say they'd count as one of your 5 a day. It would.
Do you know, you're probably right. So 5 of these muffins a day, in theory, should keep the doctor away.
And the chocolate would help fight off the depression as well. So
Yeah.
It would. So that is jam-packed full of goodness and well-being. So it is.
The internet was also advising me to move quickly once I have added the liquid to the flour mixture that had the baking powder in it, because it starts to sort of activate immediately, which would be, you know, the poofing up process. I believe that's the technical term. So this is already poofing quite a bit. There's no time for faffing around at this stage. And then we are going to just stick one of these in the top of each, in the top of each, I guess, as opposed to firing them around you. That looks like a lot of chocolate for those little muffins, but as I say, they're going to start poofing as soon as they hit the heat, so
You've got to do something to counteract the goodness of the beetroot as well.
I know, they're just too healthy,
Yeah.
Dave. I mean, would people even enjoy themselves eating this if there wasn't a little bit of disgust and decadence in there? So these are ready for the oven. And we are going to bake those for 20 to 25 minutes. And in the meantime, we're going to make some pink icing. Okay, and to make the icing, I am going to take 1 tablespoon of boiling water, 1 teaspoon of beetroot powder, combine. You can see that's a very deep rich red. And then I'm going to mix into that 240 grams of icing sugar and 1 teaspoon vanilla extract. Got some nice Madagascan vanilla extract here from the local supermarket. It almost seems a shame to cover these muffins up with icing because the chocolate square I put on top, do you want to get a look, Dave, has bubbled out the top and hardened and just looks delectable. Now, to be honest, my original plan was just to put some of the food shimmer over the top of them and leave it at that, and I have to say I think that also would have been very good, but just the sheer fact that I had some beetroot powder already made and just sort of sitting there, I thought it had to be done. So I've combined that now. And that is, how much is that? 100 grams of butter, softened butter, which I am now going to combine. Now, it's possible I'm going to need the food processor for this. So that is the lovely pink icing going on over the sort of hard chocolate tops of the muffins. We've had a little taste, haven't we, Dave?
Yeah.
The icing is every bit as delicious as the crumbs from the muffins. So we're watching this process now with hungry eyes. How long do you reckon these muffins are going to last, Dave?
I don't think the icing will even set in them, to be perfectly honest with you.
So I know fancy people would probably take a knife or a spatula or some other implement to this process when they're spreading the icing and make it all nice and tidy and stuff. But we're just too hungry for muffin at this stage. Then once they've been cooled on the wire rack and iced, you can just go ahead and do a little bit of that. And just for laughs, I'll put a tiny sprinkling of beetroot over each one as well. And there you have it, some very festive beetroot and chocolate muffins with a little winter berry tonic on the side for good measure. So that's all from this round of experiments in the magic of beetroot, but trust me, there will be more. Hit subscribe for more fun and witchy adventures. I upload every Thursday. I'm also planning on doing 2 videos a week for the month of December to keep that Christmas cheer going round. Lord knows we need it. Slán agus beannacht, goodbye and good luck to you.